Hi, friends. I'm Christiana Gaudet. I am live on my Facebook business page. It's Thursday. That means it's time for our Tarot Topics weekly newsletter recap. If you happen to be watching in archive on YouTube, on Facebook, or on my website, tarotbychristiana.com, thank you for being here. We will be doing some individual readings. Obviously, if we are in archive, I will not be able to answer your question. But if you listen, you might hear something that makes sense for you, that resonates for you. So thank you for being here. And as people are starting to come into the room, I appreciate all you for being here with me live. Let me make a couple of announcements first, and then we'll get into our topic. First of all, tonight, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my YouTube channel, Christiana Gaudet, we have Global Tarot Circle. That's a time to gather with your tarot friends from around the world. We read for each other. We talk about the cards. We learn. We grow. We laugh. We have fun. It's free. It's fun. It's on my YouTube channel, Christiana Gaudet. Join us. I also want to let you know that we do have a Zoom class coming up this month. Tarot reading for personalities and relationships. It is coming up. It is the Thursday after Valentine's Day. That makes it February 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Tarot reading for personalities and relationships. It's a class on Zoom. You need a ticket. It is $37.50. You can get that ticket by looking in the Facebook events. I haven't gotten all of my February events up yet, but I got that one up. So look for my events there or on my website, tarotbychristiana.com, and get your ticket for tarot readings for personalities and relationships. All right. Nice to see you all. Sarah's here. Good to see you. Looking forward to tonight's circle. I am too. Global Tarot Circle on Facebook Live. No, excuse me, on YouTube Live. We used to be on Facebook Live. Before that, we were on WebEx back in the olden days. Now we're on YouTube Live, and we hope to see you all there on my YouTube channel, Christiana Gaudet, tonight, 7 p.m. So, for those of you who joined me on the StarCon page on Tuesday, you know what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about Mercury retrograde. Today is Thursday. That means we do our Tarot Topics weekly newsletter recap on Thursday. The newsletter comes out on Wednesday in your inbox. If you do not get the newsletter, what's going on with you, right? Go to my website, tarotbychristiana.com, and subscribe to the newsletter. Oh, Mark, nice to see you. Thank you so much for saying that. That's really sweet. Okay. Hey, Sue, nice to see you. Karen Winkle, glad you're here. So we will be doing readings. We're going to be doing readings specifically about Mercury retrograde. So let's talk about that a little bit, and then we can you can figure out how to phrase your question. Some of you may have already figured that out. So here's the thing. Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year. It happens for about 3 weeks each time. And it's, we love to blame everything that goes wrong during that time. We love to blame it on Mercury retrograde, right? Of course, things go wrong when Mercury is direct. We don't blame it then. But, it is a thing, and it is a thing to look at. All planets go retrograde. Why do we hear about Mercury so often? Because it is the swiftest moving planet. That means we see it in retrograde more often. And every planetary retrograde does have something for us, right? But we learn more about Mercury because we deal with that more often. So, when we look at this, so there's a couple of things we need to know. First of all, is the planet really going backwards? No, it's an illusion. It appears from Earth, it appears to be moving backward. But when that happens, there is, and we can't really say it's an effect, right? What happens in the heavens as the planets move, that does not affect things on the planet. It's not an effect, it's a reflection. Whatever's going on up here is reflected down here. As above, so below. That's what astrology really is looking at what's going on up here so we can understand what's going on down here better. So, in my newsletter, every week we have an article called Cards for Your Consideration. And whatever my topic is, we'll look at a particular card or a particular deck or a particular group of cards related. So, related to Mercury retrograde, of course, we have Mercury himself, the magician. And to understand Mercury is to understand the magician and vice versa. And so it's interesting to note that when we look at the magician, we see the magician as a card of communication, of learning to use your tools correctly, of having an open mind. When Mercury is in retrograde, we might not be communicating correctly. We might not be making the connection with each other. We might not be using our tools correctly. And so Mercury retrograde is not a time to avoid things. It is a time to be extra special careful about how we communicate. And it is a time to reflect. It is a time to look to the past and see if we can tell our story in a different way. So often we hold ourselves back because of our stories from the past, the way we process. And so this is a good time for that. And now the questions are coming in. What do I need to do to communicate better, to connect better? Right, those are the questions we're looking for today. How to work with this Mercury retrograde, how to improve our communication, how to make sure we're connecting one with another, all of that stuff. So let's go through. And if you've just requested a card, please make another request, phrasing a question around this Mercury retrograde and how to use this time to the best of your ability. Okay, so Claire got it. May I have a card for Mercury retrograde advice? Yes, ma'am, you may. And hope to see you tonight at Global Tarot Circle. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Claire, this Mercury retrograde may be very trying for your patience. I pulled 3 cards. They're all major arcana cards. So this would be a good time for you to do some deep spiritual work on your own. Come to Circle tonight, but in general, you might want to avoid people. They may really piss you off right now. So be careful about what you say. And that is one thing I notice about Mercury retrograde in my own life, that what I hear from people will sometimes really bug me. And I have to learn to be more patient during Mercury retrograde and be careful about what I say in response. And I think the same may be true for you, Claire. Absolutely. The other thing with the sun here is to really use your creativity. Mercury retrograde is a great time for creativity. As long as we are not overly judgmental of ourselves and of what we create. So consider those things, Claire. And again, good morning to all of you. I thank all of you for being here. Okay, Sue Wilkinson is looking for work advice. So I'm going to give you work advice specific to the fact that this is Mercury retrograde. So everything may be harder. And my advice to you, Sue, I wonder if you are doing like more than one job, more than one task within your job. There is so much here about balance, and it feels like you move very quickly from one thing to the next, and your mind allows that to happen. Not everyone you work with has that same mental capacity. So you may have to slow it down and speak louder for the people in the back. Um, and the other thing, Sue, are you considering making a job change at all? If so, now would be a good time to start looking for what your next move would be. Okay, Sarah Madsen, I would love a card on what I need to keep in mind during this Mercury retrograde. Oh, enjoy the people that you love. Oh, Sue, it's retirement. I'll be right back to you, Sarah. I just got to go back and speak to Sue for a minute. I apologize. Sue, you're looking at retirement. Yeah, but understand that for you, retirement is not going to be hanging out on the golf course and watching TV. You have other exciting things, big things to do in retirement, maybe even your own business or another job. Not saying you're necessarily going to need that financially, but I feel like you've got other things you want to do. Okay, Sarah, I apologize. It's that 20-second delay, man. It is what it is. So, what you need to keep in mind is that you really do love the people around you. And try to have good boundaries and speak your boundaries. Do not have boundaries on the inside that you don't tell people about and then get pissed off when they cross the boundaries that they didn't even know about. So, gently, lovingly, and firmly speak your boundaries. And then you can really enjoy the people that you love. And you can do that when it's not Mercury retrograde too. But, that is what showed up right now. Cheryl Jefferson, nice to see you. Okay, Alexandria St. Cross. And again, we're looking for questions specific to Mercury retrograde. So if you got here early and just asked for a card, I'm going to ask you to rephrase your question. It can be about communication. It can be about healing. It can be about what do I need to do to handle this time. It can be about something that's going on for you right now, specific to Mercury retrograde. Those are the questions I'm looking for. So please, if you don't mind, take the time to reiterate and rephrase your question, and I'll be happy to address it. Alexandria St. Cross, what do I need to keep in mind during this Mercury retrograde? Part of Mercury retrograde is about editing. If you're a writer, you know what that means, but we all need to be editors. We all need to be able to edit out of our lives the things that don't work. And for you, Alexandria, there may be some relationships, some people who are, where the relationships or the way the people are or whatever, it is not serving you. You may need to edit out some particular situations or people or activities from your life, at least for a while. That's what you need to know and consider during this Mercury retrograde. Karen Winkle, my good friend, I was so happy about the picture for the dress. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Ooh, so excited. Karen's daughter's getting married. Okay. Karen, may I have a card for how to best communicate during the retrograde? Right? Good question. And the answer, this is funny, Queen of Swords, not at all. Just shut your mouth for 3 weeks. No, seriously, you can't do that. But very, very, very carefully. I feel like there are some people around you who will not give you the benefit of the doubt as you will give them. People who are overly sensitive, or people who just don't have the mental capacity to kind of step back on these things. So very, very carefully, as little as possible, communicate as little as possible during this time. That sounds horrible. But seriously, edit it down. Use as few words as possible to say as much as possible. The more words you try to use, the more confusing it's going to be for people. People just cannot keep up with you right now. Karen says, I was afraid you were going to say that. I nearly stepped in it yesterday. Right? Right. You know, one of my favorite prayers is, good Lord, put your hand over my mouth. I say that prayer almost every day. During Mercury retrograde, that's a good prayer for you as well. Donna Sedor, so nice to see you. What do I need to communicate better and connect better? Donna, for you, it's about communicating with yourself, figuring out without guilt, without shame, what it is exactly that you want in your life. Communicate that to yourself, and then you will be able to communicate it to other people. Okay, this is good. Karen Maynard, is Mercury retrograde going to affect my surgery or any communication with the doctor or nurses? It's hard to have surgery during this time. And we are all praying for you. We're all right there with you in spirit as much as we can be. Please keep us apprised of how things go. In terms of communication with doctors and nurses, you know, the thing that shows up for me is what you've got going on here is pretty straightforward. And so that's good. What you have to do is be very clear about your needs post-op. What do you need? Are you in pain? Are you thirsty? What do you need? Do not expect them to anticipate your needs. You're not good about asking for what you need on a good day. So it's all about asking for what you need. Okay. Oh, this is good, Richard Murphy. What happens, or advice for people who were born under Mercury retrograde? So the very interesting thing about people who are born under Mercury retrograde is you do not feel the effects of it so much. During Mercury retrograde, you actually have a superpower, because while the rest of us are sort of like, some of us actually feel it physically, we don't feel so well in Mercury retrograde. There can be a lot that goes on, right? For those of us who just want to hide under a table for the next 3 weeks, I'm not that bad, but I know a lot of people who are. You, Richard, you've got a superpower here where you're fine. You're unaffected for the very most part. You can just walk around and laugh at the rest of us. No, seriously, I know you're much more compassionate than that. But, recognize it's not going to affect you as much. Denise Davis, some Mercury retrograde advice for you. Ooh, be very, very, very careful. Because you know what, Denise? You've been studying for a while and your psychic abilities are increasing. And you are now more than ever very aware, Denise, when people are lying, when people aren't telling the truth, either intentionally or inadvertently. You are aware of that stuff. You see it and you know it. Be careful about how you call people out on it. Be strategic. You may know someone is not being truthful, but you don't necessarily need to say it to them. Just know it in your head and heart. That's my advice to you. Elizabeth, I'm spending more time with my mom nowadays and we are exercising together. That's good. Tips for communication so I can be appropriately encouraging and we can enjoy our time together. Right. So I recognize, just being a mom and having a mom, I recognize there can be issues here. And the thing is, there is a past difficult history here. And there are ways that you and your mother do not see eye to eye at all, but you both see the value of this relationship. And exercise is good because it's a way that you really are the expert here. And what your mom needs from you is to be very gentle and encouraging. Be very gentle and encouraging during the exercise time because she is not as motivated toward it as you are. and really try to stay away from other topics. You would desperately like to have her understand you on a deeper level and understand that the things about you that she fears, that there's nothing there for her to fear. That's what you would like. That's not going to happen. Don't even go there. Don't even try. When she tries to go there, gently change the topic. That would be like taking a kindergartner to college. We're not ready. Maybe one day we'll be ready, but we're not ready yet. All right. Cheryl, may I have a card? During Mercury retrograde, it is better to not speak my mind when dealing with hypocrites. Right, right. There are some people that, we see what's going on. And during Mercury retrograde, we just want to tell people. And it's best not to, because if ever there were a time that people would hear it and understand it, now is not that time, right? So for you, Cheryl, you got the Chariot, man. You just need to move forward and do you. And that's been a thing for you for a while, not just in Mercury retrograde, but in general. Cheryl needs to do Cheryl. Exactly. Okay. Oh, Uma, thank you so much for that. That's very sweet. Okay. So, Brenda Hess, what are you learning during this Mercury retrograde time? Brenda, for you, it's about learning your own power. You give up your power so easily and have throughout the course of your life. You need to reflect back on your history and look at the ways and times that you have given up your power and learn how to take it back now. Trisha, sounds like a great time to pour myself into my knitting and drown my inner dialogue. Yes, unless you can make that inner dialogue be helpful. That's the thing. TK, I'm number 5, ruled by Mercury. What is my message? Your message is to look to the past and the things that you were taught about yourself in the past that are not true. You have a lot of inner self-talk that is very negative based on your past. And no, you cannot do that. Okay. Okay, Mary Baranow, looking how to be more successful in your career during this time of Mercury retrograde. Try to hold the stupid people with compassion. I'm sorry, did that come out of my mouth? See? I received a referral the other day. For one client referred a new person to me, which I always appreciate when that happens. And the referral was basically, you will love Christiana because she has no filter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is it true? Do I really have no filter? Well, right there. Okay, Mary, let me put this a different way, a better way. Right now, be very patient and nurturing toward the people that you work with who are driving you nuts because they're not up to speed or they have their own biases that are just ridiculous. Mary says, I have no filter either, right? And so you have to be a little careful with that right now. Try to have a filter, just a little bit. I'll try too. We'll do it together. But that will help you in your career. See the truth, know the truth, but don't necessarily show them that you see the truth and know the truth. You have to have more strategy than you do filter or something like that. Okay. Okay, Shauna. Someone from the past is reappearing, as so often happens in Mercury retrograde. Is this a test? Or is this my chance to fix what would have been before for a healthier outcome? Man, if an ex is going to come back, they are very likely going to come back in Mercury retrograde. And even if they're not going to come back, they might come back in your dreams. You might find yourself dreaming about your exes, which is always a very interesting thing. Okay. And just a reminder to everyone who's asking questions, I'm going to try to get to everybody that I can, but the question needs to be somehow related to Mercury retrograde. If I can find a way to switch that up, I will. But if you can switch that up and involve Mercury retrograde in the question, it would be much appreciated. This is the Tarot Topics weekly newsletter recap, and the newsletter this week is all about Mercury retrograde. If you have not read it, you can read it right here on this page. You can also go to my website, tarotbychristiana.com, read the newsletter, and subscribe so you get it in your inbox every single week. And that's what I want you to do. Okay, so back to you, Shauna. The person who has returned seems to be coming in a kinder, gentler, nicer way. And when we look at the energy between the two of you, it does seem to be a little bit better. And so you have to wonder, has this person grown? Have you grown? Are we communicating better? It feels better right now. It feels very tempting. Where is it going to go, though? My feeling is, if you want to see where it's going to go, you can, but don't get your hopes up. My guess is this is just another Mercury retrograde X returning. And so if you're going to go forward with this, do it very, very carefully and don't give him the heart. Not yet. Okay. Sandy Stokey, closing on the sale of your old farm, anything that I should be mindful of related to that in this particular Mercury retrograde? Well, especially because, there are those people like, don't sign any contracts during Mercury retrograde. Well, you know what? We cannot stop living 3 times a year, 3 weeks at a time. We can't. We will sign contracts. We will go on trips. We will do things. In fact, StarCon 2022 next year is right smack dab in the middle of Mercury retrograde. We cannot stop living during Mercury retrograde. What we have to do is be extra special, careful, dot the I's, cross the T's, read and reread, be careful, do more than due diligence. I'm saying that to all of everybody, not just to you, Sandy. So when we look at how this is going to go for you, honestly, I feel really good about it. I'm excited about it. I think there's going to be moments it feels a little sad for you. I mean, you're happy about your move and this is all good, but you'll still have that bittersweet thing. And you do want to be extra special careful about making sure we're clear in our communication. But I feel very, very good about this, and I am so excited and happy for you. Trisha, I'm already walking on eggshells. Do the cards think I should just stay in bed? No. Just communicate carefully and surround yourself with your own healing energy. Use the magic that you know how to use. Shauna, Mercury retrograde. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, I want to steal that from you. That's so good. So yeah, Trisha, maybe use energy and magic a little bit more to help make that connection. Okay. Vicky, what do I need to do to get my new business going, especially in Mercury retrograde? A, don't worry about it. Don't fret about it. Advertise, advertise, advertise. Get the word out. Communication is hard in Mercury retrograde, but do it anyway. Betty, does Mercury retrograde affect some people reading tarot? It must, because it affects communication. I do have some clients who will not want to schedule during Mercury retrograde, but here's the thing. I love to do readings during Mercury retrograde because it is easier. We use this time to get to the bottom of things, and that's like my own style. When I do a reading, I want to get to the bottom. I want to get to the bottom of things. I want to know exactly why this is happening, what you can learn from it, and how to go forward. I want the deep stuff. That is my wheelhouse as a reader. And so Mercury retrograde assists with that. So I think if you're willing to go deep, now is like the best time to do tarot readings. but every reader is going to experience it differently. Amy, can I hibernate? No, you can't. Okay. Kavita, looking for a job during Mercury retrograde. It may take a few weeks, and be very, very careful just about like how you approach interviews, and maybe look at your resume, look at the way you're filling out applications. You want to be extra special careful about that during this time. Okay, Cecilia Reagan, I'm so happy to see you. So you have a neighbor who's being bad with nasty communication. And honestly, this person is always like that. Not just in Mercury retrograde, but it's going to be worse right now. And when we look at this, you are going to have good boundaries. And you're the second person I'm going to say this to. And I was thinking about you the other day, and I'm going to share a story about you in just a minute, Cece. You need to use magic with this neighbor. You need to put up wards. You need to put up a defensive energetic barrier here. That's what you need to do. And I hope Amy Mauser is still here, because I wanted to share this specifically with Amy. Years ago, Cecilia Reagan, and I and a bunch of people, we were in the same place, and we used to do some chanting together, some ceremonies together, and she made up this wonderful chant that I wanted to teach you, Amy, where if we wanted to manifest something, we would all chant together, "Blessed be, so mote it be. Blessed be, so mote it be." And then in between, we would shout out the things that we wanted to manifest. And it was so much fun and so good and so powerful. And we called it the Cece chant because she made it up. And Cece, I just want to let you know that that chant is still with me. And I hope that you still do it, because I sure do. See, we go back a long, long way. Okay, Varnica, I find a change in my behavior. I am very strict and rude. Is this because of the retrograde? It's affecting my career. Well, yeah, the retrograde can make that happen. Absolutely. And so again, Lord, put your hand over my mouth and breathe and try to bring in compassion. Try to open up the heart chakra. Whenever, and I'm a Scorpio, so I'll have a natural tendency toward this myself. So whenever you feel that happening, you got to breathe into the heart. Open up the heart and bring compassion to the situation. That's really what it's all about. Okay, so from my perspective, I have answered every question. If you asked a question and I accidentally skipped over it, or it wasn't pertinent to Mercury retrograde, please go ahead and reiterate it, put it back in. I do apologize. If you've been lurking and have not asked a question but wanted to, please do. So let me go over some stuff. Tonight on my YouTube channel, Christiana Gaudette on YouTube. Join me, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll spend an hour together doing some readings, having some fun. It'll be great. I do have a Zoom class coming up. Tarot for Personalities and Relationships, February 18th, 7 p.m. Get your ticket now. You can find that in the events right here on Facebook. You can find that on my website. Christiana Gaudette, actually tarotbychristiana.com is the one we're using right now while Christiana Gaudette gets a facelift. You can sign up for a class there. You can sign up for my newsletter, and you can also sign up for a reading. I am available for readings by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, Zoom. Just reach out. Cece, so on target. I've been doing magic and magical boundaries. That's exactly right. And you still do that chant and others. That's so fabulous. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So yeah, reach out for a reading. You can private message me here. You can call or text 561-655-1160, or you can schedule directly on my website, tarotbychristiana.com. I want to thank you all so much for being here. I will be back tomorrow with the Friday weekly wrap up. And I am so grateful to all of you for being part of my online community. I'll look forward to seeing you soon.